Hi, welcome to a brand new episode of Khaskura podcast. Welcome. I'm with you, Rama.
And I'm Anuja.
Yes, and today's episode is a little controversial. It's a little, yeah. So what is the episode? Do you want to give an intro?
Yes, we're going to be talking about generation gap, and I feel like our conversation here is going to trigger a lot of comments,
emotions,
and emotions. But we just want to tell you that this is our opinion and our experience, and we're just opening up this door to have a healthy conversation with you. So please don't take any offense. Like, this is not meant personal at all. We're just talking about the general, gap and the tension it causes between the older and the new generation.
Yes, definitely. And in this scenario, we would like to consider that we are the new generation and our parents being the older generation. So the people in the older generation, the time they grew up in, they have their own idea of success, their own culture, their own values, and it's constantly changing. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what are the differences. And first topic that we want to talk about is patriarchy.
I feel like patriarchy is more prevalent in the older generation, especially for women that came from a country like Nepal. We're very community-based society.
Yes.
Everybody knows everybody's business. And there is a huge gap between what I remember my parents going through and what we're going through right now.
Yes. And patriarchy really affects everyone, especially like an immigrant coming from culture, like you said, and coming to this new, American culture. And even there are traces of patriarchy. Actually, there's a lot of patriarchy stuff going on here. Different versions.
It's a different kind of animal.
Yeah, so
like patriarchy 2.0.
Yeah, 2.0. The problem that we have with the older generation is that how, first of all, son is always right. Just growing up in a Hindu culture, this whole ceremony when you die is done by a son, and you need a son to actually cross the purgatory and go to the heaven is kind of like, it's bullshit, right? Excuse my language. We come from the society where, the older generation people are always, son can do no wrong versus a daughter has so many tests to go through, and I think that is such a gap in the way we think. Like, our generation, we're more accepting, more fluid when it comes to women's right. It's not all the way, but I think
we're making progress, remarkable progress, because the essence of patriarchy is so prevalent in like Hindu mythology as well, and all the old scripts and books. Because if you remember Ramayana Mahatse, like Sita, when she was brought back by Ram to Ayodhya, she was asked to give a purification test by walking into the fire. And she comes out unscathed. But still, like, that shows, your purity is based on whether your hymen was broken or not.
And if Sita was in this generation, at least if I was one of the Sita, I would be like, you walk in the fire. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's if either you trust me, take me for my word, or you don't. There's no walking in the fire because you're a wife. And that is kind of.
It was really messed up.
Yeah.
If you think about it in a practical scenario.
Yeah. And the same thing, the patriarchy comes from religion. It comes from culture. And another thing, hopefully our generation is I think we're more breaking the barriers of caste system. But another really messed up system that I find is caste system, and how, if someone's a fisherman or if someone's a cobbler or a janitor, they're seen as a lower caste and valued less as a human being from a culture that teaches to see God in every being. But if that person does this job, they're from a lower caste. And it's really messed up.
It was man-made. It was assigned, like, what value are you bringing to the table as a human being should be more of a conversation than what your last name is or what background, like what caste system you were put into.
Exactly. And we really hope that, us having these conversations, our viewers would be able to kind of understand why we're having this conversation. Instead of blindly following as a sheep, you would stop and consider, before you do anything, am I just doing this because traditionally everybody has been doing it? Or am I my own person and I can think for myself? So let me analyze it for a moment. Is it right to treat a human being wrongly just because they're of lower caste or, they're the job that they do? We really hope that this will help you understand that.
It's definitely alleviated in the past few decades, but I still listen to some of my contemporaries, like people that are my own age, say, oh, like I can't marry her because she's that last name, and like that's really messed up.
It is really messed up.
You can't be my friend but I don't want to shut you down. I want you to learn because
But I'm judging you.
I know. And internally I'm judging you because my parents ran away from home. My dad's Mughal, my mom's Brahmin. So, and I'm married to a Shakya. So it's a big mix of a lot of things. Yeah.
Yes.
And even my parents who suffered all those consequences by running away, by mixing two castes, they were like talking about last names and castes, you know, when I was recently, when I was first thinking about dating somebody or whatever, they were like, oh, you should stay away from this particular caste or this and that. I'm like, no. And now they've eventually learned, like it took them time, but they learned and they progressed as a human being, and to understand that everybody's equal and the last name does not matter whatsoever.
Exactly. And the flip side of treating someone bad because they're from like lower caste has another side. In Nepal, I feel like there are some castes, like the upper caste. Yeah. If you look at the political system of Nepal right now, we're having election every other year. And it's really messed up because they have this blind faith that, oh, this caste can do no wrong. So let me just put all the ruling class of Nepal are just this one caste system. And the country is a shit show, but nobody would say anything because they're the right class or the right
Wait,
caste.
are you talking about the current political system?
Yeah, current political system, in the Rana regime, the Shah regime, like all of it. It's like just because someone has a certain last name doesn't mean that they know how to run the country.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Or the color of their skin, or how tall or short they are. Yeah. It all depends on who you are as a human being, what qualifications do you bring, how dedicated you are to a certain thing.
Yeah. And I feel like the older generation are more leaning towards following the older pattern than the newer generation.
Yeah, the newer generation is definitely progressing, but not at the rate that we want.
Yes. So another topic that we want to kind of talk about is success for older generation versus the newer generation, right? So we were having this conversation earlier about how in this day and age of technology, there are so many other means of generating income. So back in the day, of course, being a doctor, engineer, lawyer, these were the traditional path to earn a status in the society, earn income. But in this day and age, there are people who can, create YouTube videos and earn living. And a lot of the jobs that exist now that didn't even exist when our parents were growing up. So this idea of success that our older generation people have is kind of flawed, and some people see it and some people don't. And I think that's a huge problem as well.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to talk about success, like most of the older generation, I remember my parents and my neighbors, whatever, saying, oh, विदेशमा गएर भाडा माज्नु पर्छ and विदेशमा गएर
जापानमा गएर अन्डा छोडाउनु पर्छ. I was like,
Yeah. So what? If it's a means to an end, so what? Like if that's what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. And as long as you're happy.
Exactly. And come to think of it, like I'm software engineer now, but if someone was like, oh, you have to study computer science, this is the way to go. When I was growing up, I would probably just doubt myself because am I doing this because I want to do it, or is it because my parents is shoving this on me? Yeah. The fact that I like to learn new things, that's what inspired me. And that's what the goal should be, this perceived, like we understand that parents, older generation people, they have good in their heart and they want us to be successful and earn money and all that, but at the same time, does money equals happiness, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge topic. And just because you're rich doesn't mean you're happy. I think we all should strive to be a well-rounded person rather than just being educated with a degree or with X amount of money rather than that.
Yes, like financial security does alleviate a lot of problems, like gives you a level playing field to kind of compete or, you know, like be in the same spot as another person. But it shouldn't be like do all end all. Like it shouldn't be the end goal at all.
Agreed. So the final area that we want to talk about, the generation gap we have about understanding of like, you know, like socializing and owning sexuality, right?
Yeah.
I feel like our generation are more, you know, accepting of any gender identity or any sexuality. If you're gay, transgender, or
anybody
whatever.
from the LGBTQ community. Yeah. Like whatever you choose to do in your personal life or or how you decide to express your sexuality should not be a problem with for anybody else.
And it shouldn't be in a mold, you know. You be you. Go do whatever you want as long as you're not harming other people.
Dude, the biggest thing that baffled me when I came to the US was how like the Republican Party, the Conservative Party is all about family values and old school mentality. Like they
won't pay for the hospital bill for pregnancy.
Exactly. Like how are you supposed to have a healthy mother if you're not going to pay for it? This is going off topic, but I feel like Nepalma vices were like smoking, drinking, smoking weed.
Yeah.
Wearing short clothes or like hanging out with boys. Just having fun as a child, as a teenager,
yourself,
was such a big vice. And they would be like, oh my God, phalano ko chora ta kasto phalano bigrecha. Like, did you see what she was wearing? She was wearing skirt and shorts and running around with boys. You know, that's not a vice. Like it's fine. Like,
that's definitely not a vice. And, you know, I have a big problem with... So whenever I go to these Nepali parties, I see uncles and are like, you know, the older generation and the newer generation, right? And the way the newer generation has fun is like dancing and drinking together and just like this drinking.
Yeah.
Older generation has this idea that drinking means getting wasted. You know, there's no
middle ground.
Yeah. And I drink, but I drink when I go to, you know, our social gathering at work. So I go there, I have a glass of wine, I talk to people. It's social drinking. It's not like drinking to get wasted.
Yeah.
And older generation, they think that if you touch alcohol, you're bad. When they touch alcohol, they get wasted, and that's fine. Versus, you know, and it's
especially
such a
the
hypocrisy.
Yeah, the hypocrisy, especially for women. Like if girls are caught drinking, my daddy like still now says, "Oh, Noxy and Nakawai, they did Nakawai." I'm like, of course not. Like I'm an adult human person. Yeah. I know my bounds. I know my limitations. I'm not gonna go crazy. Like even if you did, so what? If as long as you're safe
with safe people you trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just so sad that women are still like put in that bubble.
Yeah.
You have to be soft spoken, you have to be respectful, you have to wear a certain kind of outfit. Yeah. Dude, like until this day in time, I cannot watch like a like sexually like provocative film with parents. Like it's just awkward, you know?
Yes, back in the day, you know, I think these days the movies have way more, you know, like sexual scenes than back in the day.
Yeah.
But
before it was just flowers,
kissing each other. But even those kind of scene, if they came in the TV, we were so awkward that we would leave the room. Yeah, when we were watching it with our parents and stuff, you know. But this generation, I think we're more accepting of. You know, allowable.
Yeah. I'm very curious. Like when I go back home, I haven't been in almost 9 years.
Wow.
When I go back home, am I going to be able to wear the things I wear here back home? But I feel like I see a lot of kids on Instagram wearing whatever they want.
But it's Instagram.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments below.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
What, you know, because I don't know if I would be comfortable because I remember being catcalled everywhere, every single day.
That's our another episode, guys. We're going to talk about how to deal with catcalls and your personal space and how to be okay with that, right? Yeah. That's another topic. But
so those were the points we wanted to touch on. And I feel like the topic generation gap was very essential for us to talk about because what our parents went through with us, we're going to go through the same thing with the future generation or the younger kids.
Yes.
We feel can't relate,
Yes. Yeah.
because they're so different. The new generation
can't relate, right? Yes.
So and the change is happening so fast that it's hard for us to keep up. But the only way to keep up is to keep your mind open, be accepting, be progressive, and that will make everybody's lives easier, more patient and peaceful, since the world is becoming one big glob of a big society. So, let's keep our minds open and be thankful and mindful and teach other. Yeah, open and
to
teach
learning
each
new
other
things.
new things.
Yes.
And be patient with the people who seem closed-minded. Like, sometimes you can't win an argument with them. You just have to be empathetic and listen to what they have to say.
Yes.
And slowly they will maybe come into your corner.
Come to the dark side.
With that, we would like to end this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button below and hit on the bell icon to get notified of our amazing contents.
And for frequent updates, please follow us on our social media handles. All the information is in the description below.
Thank you.